Hello, 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 and welcome you and everyone um, to Three Witches and a What. Today we're going to be immersing ourselves into episode 2. We have the lovely Mariana, we have Glenda Dawson, and myself, Mary. So let's get down to business, and thank you again for joining us. All right.
Thank you, Mary. That was lovely. All of our guests and all of the people watching this, we welcome you. Um, Mary Anna looks lovely today. She's glowing. So
Thank you.
we are all just excited to do this. And sometimes these discussions will get a little serious. But knowing us, we'll be having a lot of laughs, a lot of fun, and you know, whatever comes, comes.
That's right.
That's right. So, um, we're going to speak about our how to our
Start.
path to our start of spirituality path, our journey. Um, we always believe that we have to know everything. We have to go and visit every single guru there is and every single book that there is. We have to read it. And yes, there will be thirst when you're awake. There will
Mhm,
be thirst when you start.
mhm.
But go to the places that resonate with you. Don't allow those places or those books or those gurus that don't resonate with you. Get into your energy because this whole thing is about you. It's about your energy. How do you raise it? How do you become what you're supposed to become? About your truth. Nobody else's truth. These are all tools that we use to help us get to where we need to get to.
Mhm.
So, um, and I could only speak about how I started. I started in the Baptist church, Northern Baptist, very silent, quiet churches. At that point, there was no bands or anything. It just consisted of an organ and a piano. You didn't ask many questions, although it was a beautiful place because there was a community. And that is how my spirituality actually started because I realized that it's not the building, it is not the name, it is what the energy is in that place. And who brings that energy? The people do. In that church. If somebody needed to move, members would always volunteer. If somebody was having trouble, members were always there to help, no matter what it was. If they were sick in the hospital, members would take turn. Not only take turn going to the hospital and visiting them or calling them or anything like that, but also take turns going to their house and make sure that there were kids that they were fed, that it was a village, a true family. And that's really how mine started. Um, I'm sure it's very different than each one of you. I'm sure Mary has a different beginning than Mariana, but that's how the beginning of mine was. Besides seeing all the archangels and everything during my younger years, which I didn't really consider that spiritual, even though it is. I just thought it was part of life. I thought everybody saw what I saw. I thought everybody could speak, without using their mouth. I thought everybody could feel things without really having anybody tell you how they felt or acted or so to me, being in that church is what finally opened my eyes up to say, oh, this is what everybody's talking about. Not just thinking, speak to God. Okay, I speak to God all the time. So what are we talking about? You know, the, I used to go to Catholic school in New Jersey, and they used to say, you got to go to the priest in order to confess. But I talk directly and I say, hey, I really messed up today. How can I change? What can you help me change so I don't redo that? That was my take on things. But everybody's is different. Now, as I grew older, of course, you change and you become more immersed in the spiritual side of your belief, no matter what it is. Because spirituality really has nothing to do with religion, except for the fact that you feel united with others around you, or at least that's my view. I don't believe you have to be religious to be spiritual, and I don't believe you have to be spiritual to be religious, although you should be spiritual to be religious. But, it doesn't always work that way. Spirituality to me is a feeling, a knowing inside that then you share with others. Any take on that, ladies? What have your experiences been?
Well, Glenda, I just wanted to add, when you think of spirituality, what does that word represent to you? How would you define that?
It is my connection to the all. It is my togetherness, woven in energy to the creator or God or the all, the source, whatever it is that you call it. That is my take on it. It has nothing to do with, the crystals or the herbs or the nature or anything. It has to do my connection with the source. But like I said, everybody's different. And that's okay. That is what makes this world go round. And that's what makes this world fun.
Yep.
So, Mariana, what is your definition of spirituality?
I feel like it's a connection, it's a bridge between your humanness and your divinity. And it's the deepest connection you can have in the understanding that you are made almost like in a mirror image. You are a self-reflectional mirror of the source of all that is. And that it's not just you, and everything that you do affects, like a ripple effect, everything else around you, because you are connected to every butterfly there is, every bird there is, and everybody is connected. And once you start to, at least, people spend their whole life sometimes trying to be spiritual and ascend and evolve, and that's fine. Not necessarily a destination, it's usually the journey that counts the most. But if you can just be one more step in understanding that everything is connected, that is when you truly send out a message to the universe. I desire to be spiritual. I am connected to spirit, one level or another. It doesn't matter. There's no judgment. There's no competition. It's not a race to the finish line of any kind. We are all in this together, and we are all doing it on our own individual pace, for our own journey, for our own soul's mission. Whatever our life's mission is, that's what we do. And that's the whole point. And maybe some people, maybe their whole life mission is to become more spiritual and connect to the divine. And that's fine. That's a beautiful thing in itself. And that's truly my definition. Absolutely.
Very good. I love it. I love it. Yeah. So how did you start?
I started when I was a child. I had a major car accident, and I had a near-death experience. And when I woke up, instead of being happy that I survived it, I was very upset. I was a very angry bird kind of kid. Pulled out of that rope, out of that car, hitting into that tree. You know, I grew up in Ukraine, in Kiev. You know, and after Chernobyl, it was very hard because I was very sick. I was actually classified as 1 out of 4 kids to be facing health challenges after Chernobyl, after the radiation accident. So, you know, my mom felt that the modern medicine couldn't really do much. My grandmother was a witch.
Mhm.
She practiced what was believed to be black magic, what I know for a fact to be white magic. And, you know, it ran in the family through the bloodline. And then it got passed down to me once she passed away in 2006. And so she recommended, hey, why don't we try an herbalist alternative medicine? Why don't we try witchery? Why don't we try something out of medicine? Because clearly it's not helping.
Mhm.
And I've had every infection in the stomach known in the book. You know, I mean, it's water pollution, air pollution, everything. When that happens, it's, you have cesium 123 in your blood, you have plutonium, you have jet fuel. What jet fuel is made out of in your blood? Yeah, you kind of you try every option you can when your child is sick. So we went to a village to try to find answers from a witch. On the way there, we got into a major car accident that almost killed all 3 of us. How crazy is that? And then when I'm pulled out of a rope, and the truck that actually helped us, the people that actually helped us, the funniest part, they came in with a blanket and they're like, "Oh, you're okay." And I'm like, "No, it's not part of the plan." Not part of the plan at all. And I remember my mother, she still remembers this. She's like, I remember like to this day, and everybody's like dumbfounded with their, you know, eyes up to their forehead. What plan is the 6-year-old talking about? Suffice it to say, I was very upset. Very upset kid. And the worst part of it, we get to this village, we find the house, what's been there for 20 years, but guess what? The neighbor next door says the person hasn't lived there for 20 years. And my mother says, how is that possible? I just spoke to her yesterday. And she says, I don't know who you spoke to, because clearly there hasn't been a single soul in this house for 20 years. So we go all the way back. And on the way back on my side, the car catches fire. And so we almost die again. By the time we got back, it was an old beat up 1982 Volvo for my uncle. That my father said, ladies, go upstairs, I'll be back. We watched him from the window, smash that car into a lot of pieces by the window side, leave it on the side of the road for people to pick up the engine and everything else. Suffice it to say, we never used that car again. But after that, no joke, when I came back, you know, I started to pick up a lot of empathic abilities that I did not, you know, I thought it was normal. I'd go in the cemetery, I'd come out with, you know, feeling like I'm being choked, end up in the emergency room occasionally. You know, usually a cemetery visit would require an emergency room visit right after. My parents would take me for ice cream and already to transport me to the emergency room right away. Where thereby they would look at me and be like, she has no food poisoning. We don't know what's happening. But this happens a lot. God bless her. She'll be okay. 3 days later, as it came, so it went. Nobody knows why. And then a few months later, my neighbor who I used to play with, who I grew up with, that was the beginning of my journey for real. Their mom passed away. She was in her 30s and she passed away from cancer. They flew her body in from Germany. And in Europe, they used to have open caskets or closed caskets, funerals inside the house.
Mhm.
So my parents let me go outside by myself. I went downstairs, smelled the wreath filled with lilies, That was my first encounter with what death smells like. I recorded that, associated that quite vividly, came downstairs, tripped, lost balance, fell, top of the casket that was standing outside of the house fell on top of me, covered me. Again, two very bouncy looking guys picked it up. It's like, where's your parents? Oh my God, are you okay? Had they not made such a fuss and maybe kept the door closed, it probably would have been a different scenario. But in this case, the door was wide open, smelling the lilies, and saw the casket. Kind of, I'm 6 years old, not two, put two and two together and realized what that was. Next thing I know, I'm running down the staircase into the park, trying to figure out what just happened, go to church with my parents. We don't do confessions because we're Christian. Put in some candles, turn on the old oldies, like the big, not cassette players. They used to have like the recorder. We have a beautiful recorder.
Real to real.
Oh yeah.
Real to real.
Yeah. Was perfectly fine till midnight. Midnight rolls around. I am sick as a dog, throwing up. 911 is called. Emergency room again, busy. We don't know what happened to your daughter. She's perfectly fine. 3 days later, consistent 12 o'clock wake-up calls of the emergency room visits until a doctor says, hey, quick question. Did she go through a traumatic experience in the last couple of days? My parents are like, I thought they knew. 30 years later, I come to find out they never knew. Talk about a moment of forgiveness. Talk about that theory of relativity. Yes. And then so when this wonderful pediatrician asked, can you draw, what happened to you in the last couple of days? And I drew what happened. Whatever he said to my parents, clearly, I don't know what exactly was said, but next thing you know, they changed the room. I was outside a little more. Suffice it to say, we couldn't avoid the downstairs or the apartment, but they kept me away from the kids. Things got changed up. A lot more toys came in the house, a lot more music in the recorders. The only thing they did forget was to take away the horrible maroon curtains that kept going in and out, because they didn't realize that there were entities in the house, and the entities kept moving the curtains every night at midnight. So when my mom started waking up with me on top of her, breathing and saying, get me out of here, for 6 months, then it finally clicked. Suffice it to say, that's when I first encountered real mediumship. Took me a long time to pass by funeral homes without having my heart racing up to 150 beats per minute. Actually go into one. Later on in life, as I was still kind of like, trying to figure out these psychic abilities, empathic and mediumship, I became a journalist on top of everything. What, talk about a job that would incorporate all three in there. And unfortunately, we had a woman, it was one of my first jobs, who had drowned and nobody could identify her. And so I was the only person that was able to go in there and kind of help out. And so I was called in to identify her at the morgue. Talk about a fearful moment for a medium. And you know what? It broke that fear. And within breaking that fear, I was able to work with it more and more and more. And then I met someone later on, after my grandmother had already passed. A lot more psychic abilities had opened up and a lot more gifts had opened up. My DNA was more open, where she said, you're really true medium. You really should, if you just get rid of the fear, you'll be able to go on the other side and do your job. You're not that 6-year-old anymore. There's no more caskets. It was an accident, true accident. And I work with it. And you know, I'm grateful for those moments. And then so when 2011 rolled around, I started to I had seizures at that point because I had a very bad anemia. A lot more vision started coming through. I had a major vision come through during a seizure. So I started to open up more, and that was my journey. And in 2016, it really kicked in after a major asthmatic attack that put me in the hospital. And I started to really look into what I can do to become more spiritual because my life did not make sense to me. And I think that's where we all are. When we feel that our life is no longer making sense and we need to make some drastic changes, that's when we really realize that this chapter is kind of over and we become activated.
Mm-hmm.
I went to spiritual science of all things, spiritual, completely out of the norm, right? And then I went to meditation and they did this like past life regression session. It was really interesting. And then all of these past lifetimes started coming out, Atlantis and Mesopotamia and Ethiopia and Egypt. And I'm like, okay, well, now that makes sense why I'm afraid of water. Wait, now that makes sense why I walk this way, why I talk this way, why I eat certain foods. Okay, and it started to make sense. It's the only thing that made sense in my life. And I said, wow, this is more real than my entire life before this. And then one night I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I had a message, I think it was on ISIS. And I went on the phone. I'm like, Pleiadian starseed. I didn't know what I was looking at. No idea. And I found a song. And that was like, I said, oh, wow. And that's what began. And it was like light language, you know, induced. And I started to really research past lifetimes, really research my origin. And 11/11 is my spiritual rebirth day of 2016, where I watched the movie called Arrival. It felt real. It was almost like making contact. It felt real. And I think that's when I really began to be on that journey. I'm nowhere near it, but I'm getting there little by little. And that's okay.
Mhm.
It's okay. Because you know what? I have my whole life ahead of me to look forward to. I don't want to get there yet. I want to take it and savor each moment, because maybe this is my last. Maybe it's my last lifetime. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back as a rock. But for right now, sometimes it's good to take that silence. Yes, I'm tired. I'd say 3,500 years is a little too long to play human, to see too much. Sorry, that's it. I need a break. But no joke. I'm going to savor each moment until I get there. And I pray that, you know, whatever lessons I still need to learn, I finally learned them. So if I do ever come back, I could start over, but from scratch, easier, smoother, more light. Not to be that hard. But I'm grateful for each moment that I've been given for all those 3,500 years. And that's the first time I'm actually saying that.
Wow. Yeah.
Before we continue, we do have to listen to a few of our sponsors. So we're going to take a little moment and we'll be right back. Thank you, everyone, for listening to our sponsors, and we are back. Glenda.
Yes.
So, where do we leave off?
Well, we left off at Mariana telling her how she started and, you know, telling us how she started her spiritual journey, a few of the important events in her life that geared her to where she is now.
Absolutely.
Now, at this moment, I'm gonna hand the floor to you, Mary.
Okay. So, my understanding, because we'll start with that question of
Hmm.
what your understanding of spirituality is. Spirituality, like Mariana and you said, it's not religious at all. There's nothing to do with religion. It's for me, it's the ability to understand that I am part of our Creator and our creation. Therefore, my spiritual journey is to follow his or her steps and what it is that they desire. Um, I learned a very, very long time ago, and then it made sense what my mom said about awakenings. Follow the path of least resistance. The less you resist, the easier the journey is going to be. And boy, was she right. When you understand that you're part of the universe, that you're part of creation, that you are part ultimately of the Creator, you understand the responsibility that comes with that. And here is where you're given free will to actually either take the red pill or the blue pill. Are you going to do what it is that you came here to do, or
Hmm.
are you going to just, become a tourist? And we have tourists everywhere. We have spiritual tourists everywhere.
Yes.
And then we have those that are just little batteries that um, we share energy with. They have no idea about what spirituality is. So for me, the what is spirituality is exactly that we are part of the universe, part of the Creator makes us co-creator, and our job is to bring heaven to earth because that is His job, and it would be it would just make sense that that is what He wants us to do. When we do that, then we live that beautiful life that we all talk about, that beautiful Eden that we started in, right?
Hmm.
So, as far as how I started this, I was the reluctant psychic. I was brought up as a very Catholic little girl. Um, got my baptism, got my first communion, and got my confirmation. I was ready to actually go into the nunnery. I had spoken to Father in Spanish, vagina. It sounds like vagina, but it's not. It is a, a Spaniard name, Vallina. It actually, if you change the V to a G, it's chicken, gallina. So just, because people are going to hear me say his name. And I had spoken to him, I was 16. And I said, I think I may want to be a nun. He went to talk to my mom with a few other people, and they were like, my mom was like, no, I don't think so. Um, my mom was labeled a schizophrenic, only because she was in a nun school in Cuba. You obviously would go to school there, and you stayed from
Hmm.
Monday, Friday, and then you would go home over the
Yep.
weekends. And then it was a Good Friday, and the nuns in the little chapel told all the kids, okay, so whatever you want on Good Friday, ask Jesus for whatever you want. My mom, the only thing she asked for, I want to see Jesus. I want to see him. All the beautiful stories that they would tell them, and they did. They told them the beautiful stories about
Mhm.
Jesus. And she did. She saw him. So the next day, they all went back to chapel, and all the kids, well, I saw candy, and I saw my toys, and I saw that I was happy, and I saw stars, the moon, and all this. And my mom comes out and says, well, Jesus was at the foot of my bed. And they just quickly removed her and called her parents. And from the age of 7, which is when she told them about it, to the age of 23, she received 72 electroshots because she saw Jesus. Needless to say, that didn't do anything to her spirituality. On the contrary, it just made it a lot stronger. And she always my sister and I'm 6 years older than my sister. And I remember very, very clearly, since I was a little girl, I would see people. I would see people. And my mom knew that I could see them, but she didn't make a big fuss about it because her parents never believed in squat. Until my grandma one day got actually uh, physically attacked by a lesser energy in my mom's house.
Mhm.
I think it was to teach her the lesson because she sat down in this. She got mad at my mom because, of course, my mom would see things. Of course, that's a schizophrenia, right? She was having a manic moment, and my grandma was a very very strong, I mean, strong woman. She
Mhm.
could wrestle with the devil if she had to, and she would say it. Well, not that day. And she sat
Mhm.
down and she fussed and she screamed at, whatever entity it was. And 2 minutes later, my mom is pouring holy water on my grandmother, trying to take whatever it is that was grasping her neck. Um, we would see dead people all the time. And I would explain to my mom, Mom, do you see this and this and this and that? And she goes, don't worry about it. Dead people don't hurt you. The living do. The living people, those are the ones that hurt you. But what else do you see? And then as my sister started growing up, we both would compare notes. What do you see? What are they wearing? Those were our games. In the middle of the night, what do you think? What do you see? Oh, well, that one's behind the curtain. Yeah, I know. But what are they wearing? And we would compare notes, and then my mom would come from her room and go, would you guys please go to sleep? These are dead people. Leave them alone. They're just going to walk around the house. Leave them alone. Just close your eyes and go to bed. And we never understood why she would not remove them or why no one would remove them until one day I asked my mom, I said, Mom, and again, I'm the reluctant psychic. I did not want anyone to know in my private little Catholic school that this kind of stuff was happening in my house because no, I was a hypocrite and I was not doing God wrong. I was going to go to hell if if
Mhm.
if he would find out. He already knew. That's the fear-based
Right.
uh, teachings that you get when you're a kid. And one day I asked my mom, why why don't we get rid of this? Why aren't you getting rid of this? Because are they hurting you? Well, they're scaring the shit out of me. Yeah, they're scaring us. And and she says, well, just tell them not to come out. That they're scaring you. And I was like, what? All these years and you're what? Why didn't you say anything? So she sat us down and she spoke to them. I'm telling you, my sister and myself and my mom, we compared what we were seeing, so we knew that it was real.
Right.
Um, and we just said, "You're scaring us. Can you please not do that anymore?" And that was it. It was like quiet, and we were able to sleep. We knew they were there because there's a point of your vision, and then your third eye that you know that they're there. You feel
Right.
them because then that part of the Claire comes out.
Mhm.
Um, but it was a lot nicer to live there. So for us, mediumship was just normal. That's every day. Then I remember I got very sick when I had my son, and I was in my 30s. I didn't want my mom to know that I lost all my spinal fluid and that I had a week's worth of hospitalization with high fevers. And then there was one night that I was already home. My diet was a 24 pack of Coke a day to get my metabolism going so I could make more spinal
Fluid.
fluid quickly. And then tea, caffeinated tea, and coffee. I had 12 cups of coffee a day. I was wired, so there were days that I was like, um, but I remember my mom called me, and this was like about 10:30 at night, and I'm laying down flat. because you have to lay down flat so the pain is not that bad. And I'm on the phone, I'm going, what, Mom? And she goes, I'm going over tomorrow. Your sister's taking me. I'm like, what? No, no, you don't need to come. Everything is fine. No, don't lie to me. I know there's something wrong because they're telling me. And I'm like, damn it. Fine. My mom comes. She does this whole cleansing thing. We now know what that is. She realigned my chakras. She cleaned my luminous energy field. She cleaned everything, all my meridians. She used her water. She used prayer. She did Reiki, all that energy healing. Back then, when I was 30, I'm 58 now. When I was 30 something, who knew about Reiki? Who knew about energy healing? That didn't exist. And she told me, she goes, you're going to feel like you're going to die, but you're not. You still have a long way to go. Just wait. But you're good. Tonight of all nights, you're going to feel like you're going to die. Sure enough, I told my husband, listen, if I don't wake up, don't worry. I just want you to find a woman that is going to love my children. I'm not going to go to heaven because if I have to pull her toes every single day for doing something bad to my kids, I am going to do it and I'm going to make your life hell. And he was like, you're going to die? I'm like, I don't know, but it sure feels like it. And 3 o'clock in the morning comes. JJ, my son, is crying his heart out. Usually my mother-in-law is the one that gets up immediately and feeds him, or my husband. Nobody would wake up. I would hit my husband. He just turned around to the other side like, don't bother me. I said, well, I must be dead. I got up. I went to look. I picked up my baby. I went to the kitchen. I warmed up his breast milk, gave it to him, and I started rocking myself. 20 minutes into the rocking, 20 minutes, I realized that I was sitting. I had no pain. I felt absolutely wonderful. Did I die? I don't know. I don't know. But I felt great. I called my mom at that point, and she picks up the phone. She goes, what? I'm like, Mom. She goes, I don't want to hear it. I know it happened. Just leave me alone. I'll talk to you in the morning. Just leave it. I'm like, okay. Hung up, went back to sleep, woke up in the morning. I was ready to clean the house and do all the things that I had to do. That was when I said, oh shit, something's up. And that's when I started really talking to my mom. I talked to my mom about everything, but except spirituality. And that is where she just opened up and she goes, this is what this is. This is who you are. She would always say a Spanish saying, "Hijo de gato, caza ratón." It means if any son of a cat can catch mice. She would always tell me that, and she goes, "Welcome. It's time. You're late. You have to catch up." I was like, "Really?" And she was the one that explained to me that awakenings were meant to be a cause for celebration. When it is not, it is because we're resisting. When she told me that, I'm going, oh shit, I'm not going to go through all that crap. Oh, no, 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 I'm not going to resist. I'm going in head first, dove into there, and I have not had a bad experience in my awakening at all. It has always been something positive that I've gained from it. But that's how I approached my awakening. I even wrote a book about it because it is everything that she taught me. And to this day, knock on wood, it works. And it's wonderful. I wouldn't change it either. I wouldn't change any part of it. But
Well, that's beautiful. I do want to say, though, that in the 80s, there was Reiki. That's when I took my Reiki
but what
certification.
Cuban knew about it?
I lived in New Jersey and it was in New York
It was in New
in these
York?
big, yeah, these big auditoriums where they came once a year. They taught it.
Oh my
You
God.
would go Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. By Sunday, you were attuned, and that was the end of it. There was
Wow.
no book, no, you couldn't write it. You couldn't even anything, the symbols or anything. Everything was secret. So
Oh
you,
wow.
you hope you remembered when you left there. Because yeah, of course, there everything is fresh. So
Right.
I think I only remember usually Chocolat. That was it. And that's because I could just
Wow.
rhyme it.
Yeah. No, no.
Uh,
We didn't have that in
yeah.
Miami. No.
No, in Miami, no. But
No.
you know, I lived north
Right.
and not in in the other Little Havana.
Oh, really? You have a little Havana?
No, yeah, we have Union Cities called the Little Havana,
Oh,
the
wow.
northern Little, at least in those times.
Oh.
And but I lived in north,
Yeah,
and
no.
then
But in Little Havana for us in Miami, that was the Santeros and the spiritualists, the Spiritistas, the Paleros,
yeah, right,
that Yoruba, Lukumi,
yeah,
faith. That's
yeah,
that's that's what we were exposed to.
right,
My father is a Tata Nkisi, which is, pretty far out there. But
yeah,
yeah.
yes. So at that time, the reason I even started that was because I was getting a lot of leg pains, you know. Um, Naturally, I would still walk all over the place and everything, but I was still getting a lot of leg pains.
Wow.
And somebody said, "There's this woman, but you got to keep it hush hush."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, is this illegal?" No, it's not illegal, but you got to keep it hush hush. And I was willing at that point to try anything, just like when we have a lot of pain. Uh, okay, walk upside down for 3 blocks, we'll do it. That's it.
Yep.
So I I went and she did a Reiki treatment, and I'm like, I feel the warmth and the legs, just the blood and everything just started flowing, and everything was like, and I'm like, okay, what did you do, and how do I get trained in it? Because this has to be part of my life. And so she contacted me and told me where and what and all that other stuff. She still would go there every year, even though she was already certified and attuned and so all that other stuff. But that's the only way she remembered the symbols. Because in that time, there was really no books. There were no books given. There were no, you got a little sheet of paper telling you how Dr. Usui became Dr. Usui. That was it. Everything was hush hush and secret and so um and when I told my parents, my father, of course, being very Christian, he was like, is that the work of the devil? And my mother literally went bam and said, don't you understand? There's no way she could ever walk into a negative place. Wherever she goes, light goes with her. You have been her father all these years. So, and so I at that point I was a little horrified my mother hit my father in front of me. Second, the fact that she said what she said, I was like, what? What do you mean? Wherever I go, there's light. And all that started going through my head, like, what do you mean? What do you mean by light? And so that's when the thirst came in. That's when the thirst came in. Even though all this time I would talk to my spirit guides, I would talk to the angels, I would talk to spirits in general. I would go to cemeteries and there would be the kids there, come and play with us, and all that other stuff. Yeah, it is like, oh, okay. And I have my own little but friends and all that, at first doctors would just say, "Oh, she's just got an imaginary friend." And my mother would say, "Okay." And my mother would say, "Don't listen to them. They're real, just like you and I, just in a different place."
That's it.
And so I was never lonely. I always had friends. Even in my loneliest time, I always had friends. So, but that's really like I started blossoming. I just like, woof, and everything came at me because I asked, and I finally, like you ladies, finally surrendered
That's it.
and said, "Okay, all right, I'm too tired. All right, what is it?"
Yeah.
And then that's just what happens. You open up, you surrender, and you really know then where your path is.
Yep.
And that's, even though I got told every single time I had a near death experience, what was coming next and all that, I just thought that was natural. Everybody had them. I didn't understand that I'm speaking about things that most people don't even know what it means.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm experiencing it and I'm like, okay. And this is how little by little we got to here.
Yeah.
Ah,
I love that because, one of the things that I learned, the first thing my mom came to tell me was, "You're not crazy." I was like, I was elated. I thought that I was getting schizophrenia like my mom. And I thought that was it. I'm doomed. Who the hell's going to
mhm,
marry me? Who's going to believe me?
mhm,
Am I going to end up with 32 pills like she took a day just to get her up and go to bed? Um, I was like, I was doomed. That's why I was like, no, I was the reluctant psychic. No,
mhm,
this is not for me. And then she sat down with me and she goes, Mama, tú no estás loca. You're not crazy. What you're seeing is real. This is just a different dimension. And this woman, she only went to third grade.
mhm.
That's as
Yep.
far as she went because they plucked her out of school for her electroshocks. So she knew so much. And, you know, and then you start seeing this, that is so important for us to know. So important for our kids to know,
Mhm,
because the whole idea is, how do you start your spiritual journey? Well, one of the first ones is to understand you're not going crazy. This is real.
mhm, mhm,
And it is a spiritual journey. It is where you're able to decipher what's physical, what is science, and what is spiritual.
mhm,
What are you? You're all of them. And then you have to work in a symbiotic method, and that thirst you talk about, that spiritual hunger, that is when you finally open your guides, your angels, your ancestors. They all play a part, and they come to you and they are just giving you all this information. Those are your downloads. Those are all your downloads.
mhm,
And then it, of course, it interprets in the physical body as a hunger, and you want to read and you want to learn and you don't know what to do, and you get people that say, "Oh, I'm so lost in my spirituality." Okay, so how do we help you? How is it? Because if they're going to start their spiritual journey, one of the things is they have to find people like us. They have to find people that have walked the walk, talked the
yeah,
talk, and know exactly what's going on without the sugarcoating and without the
yeah.
BS, because we're too evolved for the BS. This is
Mm,
this is so important in the journey that it's it's vital for their existence,
mhm.
without holding back, teaching them to catch fish.
Very true.
It's very, very, very important. But yeah, the question to how to start your spiritual journey, there it is. There it is.
There it is.
Parents have a big, big responsibility.
Yes, I just like you, we both. have children, and of course, Mariana also. But I have been open with them since day one. And my kids all have to give, whether they want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
That's up to them, you
Yeah.
know. My youngest one and his partner, his girlfriend, they they're like, oh, can we go to the cemetery? Can we go here? Can we go there? Can we do it? And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I'm like thinking, I go home, I'll just sit and I cook and relax. And then I hear, oh, can we go to the cemetery? Okay.
I love it. I love it.
But, it's each one of us, what I want to make a point is, though, each one of us has a different starting point,
Hmm.
a different way to get there. But what we have to remember is the point. None of us is crazy.
No.
This is all natural. This is part of being us.
Yep.
And the part about surrendering is one of the biggest factors.
Yes.
Once you actually accept it and say, okay, what do I need to do?
That's it.
It just makes your whole life a lot easier.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you're not going to have problems now, but your internal life, the way you look at things, the way you feel things, the way you think you experience things, very different.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Absolutely.
Any last words here, ladies?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. And you just kind of have to be authentic when you do that, and this is the part where I feel, you know, not only do you surrender, but you kind of like check in and just say, like, does this feel real? And if this is what feels more real to you than anything else that you've really encountered in the 3D matrix, then you know that there's no way of going back, because there's some points in your life you cross over to some points. In Latin it's artroversiamo.
Mhm.
It's a crossover point. And
Yeah.
that's what I call the awakening process to begin with, is the artroversiamo, because once you cross over, I mean, you're not dying, but once you cross over to that other state of beingness, is what I call it, there's no way of really going back. And even though this is like a free will, planet, of course we all have free will, you don't necessarily want to go back, because nothing in your former life begins to make any more sense. It just kind of feels like a chapter that's been outlived, that's finished in a book that you finished reading, exactly like the Matrix, blue pill, red pill. And you're done, and there's no more. And so, like, for me, I wouldn't change a single thing, and I would never be able to go back. I can't, because this is a part of my life. And without it, this has been my life raft. This is what is allowing me to survive and live on planet Earth, even though it's a very hard road. But I'm able to live it a little more smoothly, because I know I'm not alone. I know that I have my guides, I have my support, I have my community, that there's more people out there like me that I can talk to. I have my soul family, which is right here with
Mhm.
me right now. And I have that tremendous support. And most importantly, I'm not crazy. And I don't have to. And I think when we come to the point when we look in the mirror and we say, okay, well, I'm not crazy to yourself. Because like, you know, um, Celestine Starr, she's a big person in my life that, I used to communicate with, and she was a big spearheader, and she just passed away. Her famous words that I got channeled after she died was, you don't have to apologize to anyone. You only have to apologize to yourself.
Mhm.
And when you begin the journey of spirituality, this is where you come closer to the understanding that everybody's a mirror reflection of you. And anyone that comes into your life and circumstances that come into your life are there to kind of mirror back what is still needed to be worked on in order so that you have the opportunity, you're invited to become the most highest version of yourself possible in a way. And so you don't have to apologize to anyone but yourself. Forgive yourself first before you
Mhm.
can forgive anyone. Love yourself first before you can love anyone. And most importantly, surrender to the things that you are reluctant to and that you are resistant to. Because like Mary said, it's absolute truth. And like Linda said, the longer you resist,
Mm-hmm.
the road doesn't get any easier.
No, it gets
Mhm.
worse.
But in surrender, the road still doesn't always get easier, far from it. But at least you calm yourself, you surrender to yourself, you become one with yourself, and you understand the concept. Okay, I know what I need to do. I know the road is hard. I know the road is long, and it's not going to get it easier necessarily, but I know what I need to do. And you
Right.
Mhm.
surrender and you accept that. And within that moment of grace, of surrender and serenity, is when you truly become spiritual within yourself. You accept your humanness, you accept your divinity. It's like a harmonic convergence, like that Vesica Pisces that begins the form of all geometric figures,
Correct.
right? Before the
Mhm.
flower of life. You accept.
Yeah.
And even they say when people are critically ill, they're on their deathbed, even like they accept
Yes.
and things become easier.
Yes.
Mhm.
And when you do that, you change and shift the trajectory of your entire existence and the totality of the entirety of your being. And life is much more smoother, no matter what it might look like on the outside.
That is true.
That's what I just wanted to
Very
add.
true.
That is.
Very true. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
It was. It was. It was. And Mary, any last words?
Um, I agree very much with Mariana and with you, that the first steps for starting your spiritual journey is to understand that you are not crazy, that
Mm-hmm.
these things are real. What you're seeing is real. What you're experiencing is real.
Mm-hmm.
You are the only one that has the power to make the changes within yourself. And you are the only one, besides your ancestors and your spirit guides. There's a reason why we have all these helpers.
Mm-hmm.
There is a real valid reason why we are given these resources. It's a shame that we don't all teach our children that they have these wonderful resources that they can tap into if they learn to who to ask and what to ask for. It's a shame that
Mm-hmm.
we don't really we talk about everything with our children. We talk about sex, we talk
Mm-hmm.
about drugs, we talk about all kinds of stuff. But we don't sit down and
Mm-hmm.
talk about their spirituality. I did that with my kids. My son ended up being an atheist, not an atheist, what's the other one? The other talk, agnostic.
Agnostic.
Yes, my son,
Okay.
but my son sees dead people and he'll come down, he goes, I saw one. What do you want to do? Nothing. Okay, fine. And then my daughter is like, I see you. When I hear her up there going, I see you, I know that she saw one. you know? But they learn from the moment they were little, like my mom taught me. So, no, you're
Mm-hmm.
not going crazy. Yes, you have so many resources to ask help from. You were just
Right.
never told. You were never told. So, yes, it's going to be new. So, yes, you're going to resist it. So, yes, you're going to, have a hard time
Mm-hmm.
accepting it. But
Make those faces.
Huh? Huh?
Make those faces.
Yeah, make those faces. You're like, I don't want to see that. That was my
Yeah.
favorite look. It's like, I don't want to see that. And I'm like, dude, just tell him to go. Just you're the only one that can do that. And he goes, go. And
Mhm.
I was, did he leave? Yeah. I go, there you go. There's your power. There is your power. Once we know that we are part of the creator and we are co-creators, and we start working on higher frequencies, there is just no way that lower frequencies can come anywhere near us. It cannot.
Exactly.
If we are up here, it's like you remember the
Mhm.
timelines in school, the one with a zero and then
Mhm.
plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 2, right? And then
Mhm.
negative 1, 2, 3. Okay, the energies work that way. Lesser energies keep getting even worse. Lesser and lesser and
Mhm.
lesser. And positive energies keep going upper and upper and upper. If that's, I'm using that. I know it's not a good word, but higher and higher and higher. So the higher we are, where are those lesser energies going? They can't touch us. You look at Eden, they were all in higher levels. Once that lie
Mhm.
came in and they were hiding because they were ashamed, a shame is a very low frequency, guilt is a low
Mhm.
frequency, lies are a very low frequency. All of a sudden,
Yes.
Eden crumbled.
Yes.
There is no Eden again. There was no Eden. So when you put that and you explain it on the timeline, you understand, no, I don't want low energies. I want higher energies. Now you've got all these helpers around you that are doing what?
Mhm.
Shooting high energy. Shoot, 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 shoot.
Mhm.
Right? And you
Yep.
taste in that high energy. That is what we need to teach our children. That is what we need to incorporate in our own spiritual journey. And there is no reason to have a hard awakening. None. It is only because we are the ones that create our narratives and our reality. Once we learn the truth, we're going to be okay. And we
Mhm. Yes. Exactly. Well, ladies, this is beautiful. I thank you. We send blessings to everyone. Um, you know, we all need to meet our guides, and what a great way to, if you need to, get in touch with one of us.
Mhm.
I, I know I teach it. I know I believe Mary teaches it. I believe Mariana also teaches it.
Yes.
So, right. So we are all available and, more than willing to help you through your journey, through your starting point,
Mhm.
through your ending, through the middle, whatever it is that one needs.
Correct.
Blessings. Namaste. We love you all.
Bye bye, everyone.